The Volkswagen Passat Estate is a large family car that's looking to compete with the likes of the Ford Mondeo, the Mazda 6 and Toyota Avensis. It may be more expensive than many of its mainstream rivals, but it does have a more premium feel. But it's cheaper and larger than some cars positioned as more premium alternatives, such as the BMW 3 Series. This GTE version of the car gives Volkswagen a plug-in hybrid option, gunning for extremely low CO2 emissions and low running costs that prove attractive to private and company car buyers alike. The Passat GTE combines a 1.4-litre turbocharged petrol engine which produces 154 brake horsepower with an electric motor that pumps out 115 horsepower. The two of them combine to produce a total output of 215 horsepower, which is just through the front wheels only. It can be driven in 4 modes: E-mode, which uses only electric power to drive the wheels; Charge mode, which uses the petrol engine to both drive the car and charge up the batteries; Normal mode, which allows the car to pick and choose what source the power comes from at any given point; and GTE mode, which uses all of the available power for motion. It's unsurprisingly pretty silent in E-mode, and it can go on paper for around 30 miles without troubling the petrol engine. In normal mode, the transition between petrol, electric or both is pretty seamless, with only the faintest of clunks to let you know you're changing between modes. Despite the addition of a pretty chunky 9.9 kilowatt battery pack to the GTE, there's not a great deal of difference in the driving experience from the regular Passat Estate. It's pleasingly agile, with consistently weighted steering and very little body lean. The ride too is pretty comfortable. It doesn't seem to have any problems dealing with the UK's poor roads or traffic calming measures. And when you take it out onto the motorway, it really settles down into a silken waft. As you'd expect from a Passat, there's very little noise from the outside world. Engine, wind and road noise all fade into the background, and it delivers a cabin in which you'll rarely need to raise your voice above a whisper. In the cabin, the GTE is barely different from the rest of the Passat range. Getting comfortable won't be a problem either. The seat is fully adjustable, all electric, and the steering wheel also adjusts for height and reach. The dash is simple to use and sensibly arranged, with a standard 6.5-inch touchscreen for most functions and steering wheel controls to flick through the menus while in motion. Visibility is class leading, with large windows and fairly upright pillars. It can be a little difficult to judge the extremities. This is a big car with a long boot and sloping bonnet, but with standard front and rear parking sensors, it ought not to be a problem. GTE stands as its own grade, pretty high up the Volkswagen trim structure, so even standard equipment is excellent. Sat-nav is standard, as are automatic LED headlights, automatic wipers, Bluetooth connectivity and city brake support. The optional 8-inch screen is a good upgrade, and it displays specific information to the GTE. This includes energy flow from the various sources, nearby charge stations and range. Volkswagen's attention to fit and finish is in a class of its own against the premium manufacturers. There's a good variety of dense feeling materials and touches like air vents and analog clock that make it look upmarket. The Passat is a large car. In fact, it's more comparable with cars in the class above, so you won't be wanting when it comes to space. Even very tall occupants will be happy with high door openings, which makes getting in and out really easy. Head and legroom is excellent, although there may be some squabbles about who gets the middle seat, as this central transmission tunnel makes things a little less comfortable. Like the other models, the Passat Estate GTE's boot is huge, well shaped and has a square opening with a low load lip. However, the GTE differs from the rest of the range in the back. The fuel tank has been displaced by the battery pack, which lives under the boot floor, which is also where the spare wheel would go. What space is left is now home to the GTE's charging cable. Getting into Passat ownership isn't cheap in the first place, and the GTE is just that little bit more expensive. Prices are pegged back at £38,000, and that's before the plug-in grant of £5,000. It's the running costs where the GTE picks up the baton. Volkswagen estimates that most journeys don't exceed 31 miles, and the Passat GTE has a 30-mile electric range. Potentially, the GTE's fuel costs are microscopic, though thanks to the way the hybrid fuel economy is calculated, the 166 mile per gallon claims are a little wild. How well you get on with the Passat GTE will largely depend on your circumstances, which is pretty much the case for any alternative fuel car. If your daily commute is short enough that you can use the car on pure electric drive alone, then running costs will be considerably less than equivalent diesels. In any case, the Passat Estate is one of the best large family wagons going. It's relaxing to drive, well equipped and spacious, now with the potential of also being a zero local emission car that runs in near silence. For more information, search for the Volkswagen Passat on whatcar.com, and to stay up to date with all our video road tests, click subscribe.